You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show Crosstalk. I'm your host, Scarlett Simpson. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at different issues, personalities, and events that affect you and our community. Approximately 240 calls are made to 911 each year in the U.S., and many people don't consider the work that first responders do until they face a crisis themselves. This week we will discuss different aspects of emergency response with representatives from the Shelby County Sheriff's Department, the Shelby County Fire Department, and the Spence and Becky Wilson Baptist Children's Hospital. Today I had the chance to sit down with Deputy Mario Pendarvis from the Shelby County Sheriff's Office in one of their locations. Well, Deputy Pendarvis, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, why did you want to become a sheriff's deputy, and how long have you been in the office?
Well, I've been a sheriff's deputy going into my 4th year now. The reason why initially is my mother. My mother just recently retired from our department as a captain. Initially, I wanted to just follow in her footsteps, but now that I've actually been in it for some years now, the most important thing to me is just improving the city.
In Shelby County, there are sheriff's deputies and police officers. Is there a difference?
It's a slight difference. In Shelby County and Memphis, you have MPD and, of course, Shelby County Sheriffs. Although we do the same kind of work, sheriff's deputies goes back to like the beginning of time, kind of like oversee everyone. We're kind of like the high rank. That's as bad as that sounds, but it's just a entity thing. We're just a little higher ranked than MPD.
Do you often work closely with other law enforcement like the MPD or GPD, or is your work more isolated?
Oh, we're always working with different agencies. If we're going in the city, we can ask MPD to assist. If we're going to Germantown, we can ask Germantown to assist. Everyone is always working as one to help improve Shelby County and West Tennessee as a whole.
Many times you are the first to arrive at a crime scene. Deputy Pendarvis, can you describe those first moments on the crime scene of a shooting?
Oh, wow. The first moments actually are a bit scary, you know. You never know what to expect. When you actually get the jitters out, the first thing you want to do is, they tell you, preach this, is securing the scene. Basically, that means just making sure the scene is safe for everyone else to start coming in. And after that, we have different protocols that we have to take. It's very structured, but initially, I guess, it's a little nervous, a little scary. Once you get those jitters out, you just work on securing the scene and making it safe.
Has there ever been a case that stuck with you or changed the way you view your job?
Yes. One situation happened a couple years ago. Not getting into too many details on that case, but I think every officer, something happens and it can help them view life a lot different, and that happened to me a couple years ago.
There are neighborhoods where people who witness a crime are afraid to tell law enforcement for fear of retribution. What do you say to those people, and how can you protect them?
Well, I have to say to them is, we can't do it all by ourselves. We need the help. We need help of the community. If you see something, let us know. There are a lot of things set in place to help those who do feel the need to want to, help us out, give us any hints. We have safe places to take people. Anything we can do to possibly help, we will, to keep anyone who wants to assist us safe.
Well, Deputy Pendarvis, Memphis is constantly ranked in the top 10 for most dangerous cities in the U.S. year after year, and women can fall victim to these crimes, both violent and nonviolent. What does the Shelby County Sheriff's Office do to protect them? And we know that you can't prevent all crimes.
True, we can't, but we try to do our best here at the Shelby County Sheriff's Office. I know most things that happen with women are domestic related. And the Shelby County Sheriff's Office, when making a scene of a domestic situation, we take domestics to the top. We have different procedures in place to help victims of domestic violence. Women, for instance, we have what you call a hold harmless form. Each deputy, when they make the scene of a domestic violence, has to give this form to the victim, which allows them to get transported anywhere safe if they feel that this is an unsafe environment, I can't be here anymore. So right off the bat, that's us assisting anyone that falls victim. And more than likely, it is, unfortunately, it is mostly women who become victims of domestic.
Well, let's talk about your training at the training academy. How long did that process take?
The process was an excruciating 6 months. No, it wasn't that bad, but it's 6 months, and I hold our training to the highest. I feel like the instructors we have at our training academy of Dovecrest, they're top of the line.
Well, switching gears a little bit, the Crime Prevention Bureau offers programs to both young and old in the city. Can you go into detail about these programs?
Sure. A couple crime prevention programs we have are basically things set in place to help normal citizens, give them tips. We have things on there such as a tip on what to do when you go on vacation, a sheet to tell you how to rank your valuables. Basically, it's something to, I guess, help prevent crime. What we have also, like I said earlier about the vacations within Shelby County, on our website, it allows citizens to call us in and say, hey, I'll be leaving town for this certain amount of time. Can you just guys go by and check the house every so often? So we do those courtesy vacation checks. So it's just a site that gives our citizens tips on how to prevent crime from happening to them.
What is your reserves unit?
Our reserves units are the best. No, but our reserves units are basically an entity of us. Those guys are basically the guys you may see at the fair or any big event, Memphis in May. Basically, those guys just assist us in any way they can. They still go through the same training we do and don't get paid for it, so kudos to those guys. But basically, just a division to help us when we need a little extra help on the streets.
Can you talk about the Safe Haven Law and its importance?
Okay, wow. The Safe Haven Law is very important. Safe Haven Law allows a woman to give her baby up within 72 hours, a healthy baby, and they can drop that baby off at any employee at a hospital or any child care facility, any local, I guess, medical facility. And I think the importance of that is so we can, have less of, abandoning, babies.
Well, Deputy Pendarvis, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
We have to take a short break, but stay tuned. Up next, a representative from the Shelby County Fire Department will tell us how their department responds to crises.
I wish I was in school. If only I had a math test today. I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help.
Hello and welcome to Cable Quiz, the academic.
Do you know how incredible it is to work at a TV station in high school?
GHS-TV is a student-run television station.
There's so many things you can do here at GHS-TV. You can be in front or behind the camera or both. You have that opportunity. There are no limits.
We have sports and we have news and we have entertainment. So the students here get a well-rounded view of what it's like to be in the TV field.
It's my life. It's what I want to do.
From all of us here at GHS-TV, thanks for starting your morning with us. For more information about the CAPA program, visit ghscapa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm Scarlett Simpson. More than 1 million fire reports were made in 2016. But what happens after the 911 call is made? I sat down with Brent Perkins, the Public Information Officer for the Shelby County Fire Department. Mr. Perkins, thank you so much for being on the show and for everything that you do on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you very much for having us. Glad to be here.
Well, we are in the middle of a very brutal winter. It seems that in these types of months, there is an increase in the amount of apartment fires and house fires. What are the cause of these fires?
Well, as temperatures drop, people begin to search for alternative sources to heat their homes. Oftentimes, these are space heaters that are not used properly. They may be old. They haven't been tested to see if they have functional tip switches. In other words, if they get knocked over, will they shut off properly? I have a rule. I actually use space heaters in my own home, and they're 3 feet from everything. Give your space heater space. That's what I tell everybody, because it's critically important. People put them next to beds. People put them next to curtains. And when you get a heat source next to a combustible, very easily they can start fires. So running cords underneath carpets are dangerous, and heating your home. People actually have tried to heat their homes with charcoal in their fireplaces. Well, that creates a gas that can kill you. So you've got to use good common sense tactics to find the ways to heat your home safely.
Well, take us through a call for a house fire. What do the firefighters do at the station and once they arrive?
Typically when fire calls come out, and they get a great deal of attention. What we roll is called a full assignment. Other fire departments will use a first alarm, second alarm, third alarm, that sort of a call type. But we call it a full assignment because it's going to have not just one engine company, but multiple engine companies, as many as 4 or 5 perhaps. And they'll descend on the scene as quickly and as safely as they possibly can, sizing up the fire immediately and then determining exactly how to attack it, establishing a water source, and then getting a very good aggressive approach to find the fire, find how it's seated, and then knock the heat, the air, and the fuel away from the fire to put it out.
Well, give us a tour of the fire department. What exactly do we have here?
Here in the building, this fire station is very similar to what you'll find typically throughout United States fire departments. And it's a home, if you will, away from their real homes. You have everything from sleeping quarters, showers, kitchen, dining areas, day rooms, where people can train and stay ready to go at all times. Firefighters work 24-hour shifts here, and so they're gone from their families for a full day and a full night. And the training is one of the things that we stay on top of all the time to make sure that everybody is as comprehensively trained and ready to go as they can be.
Well, Mr. Perkins, what all does your job entail as Public Information Officer?
Well, public information is more than just getting on television and doing interviews. It's coordinating with the media as a partner and making sure that when we have a large event, that not only are we telling the media what has happened at that particular event, but also making sure that when they're on that fire ground, that members of the media are actually kept safe. That's one of our responsibilities. Unfortunately, it's been rare, but there have been reporters and camera folks who have been hurt, and even a couple of instances where they've been killed being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So we're kind of acting as safety officers and then making sure that the information that needs to get out to the general public is out there. Anything from a car crash that shuts down a highway, public health threats and things that are going to make areas unsafe. We have partnerships with all of these assignment desks, making sure that they can get critical information out to who it needs to be delivered to.
Well, the SCFD is more than just firefighters. The department also dispatches ambulances for emergency medical assistance.
We have a very aggressive emergency medical services division, and in that we operate a fleet of 12 ambulances responding to almost 15,000 emergencies every year. So about every 40 minutes, somebody here in this area of responsibility is picking the phone up and dialing 911. And that's anything from a toothache to a full arrest, a burn victim, a car crash, all sorts, over 200 different call types we respond to. And it's interesting to note that a lot of people aren't sure what's going to happen when they call 911. So I'd kind of like to talk about that a little bit if we could.
Go ahead.
You know, when you call 911, you need to have three things at the tip of your mind and ready to give: who you are, where you are, and what's going on. The call taker will be taking this information and kind of interviewing you while the other people in the room are taking that call data and actually getting on the radios and sending the engines and the ambulances to where they need to go. So be concerned about where you are all the time when you're traveling.
Mr. Perkins, you just recently upgraded your 911 call center. Can you also talk about that?
Yeah, we are proud that we were able to get the latest in tactical mapping, in call-taking techniques and training, and new computers to enhance our 911 environment at Shelby County. And we're in a constant state of upgrading all that anyway, because as we move into E911, we're needing to co-locate and geolocate, that is, callers, because 20 years ago, everybody had a landline telephone. Now everybody's using cell phones, and if they don't know where you are, we need to be able to triangulate that through different cell towers to figure out exactly where you are, because a lot of people don't look at street signs and they get confused about where they are. The other thing that we're getting ready for is next gen 911, and believe it or not, text to 911 is something that's coming as well.
Well, Mr. Perkins, what is one thing you say takes you to be a firefighter?
Well, number one, I think it's going to have to be in your heart. I've learned one thing since coming on the fire department: firefighters are born, they're not made. And so I think if you come into a fire department environment with that, you've already taken your first big step. The next thing is going to be a devotion to civil service. And all of us here, we have a desire to actually truly be servants of the general public, to make sure that we can promote that life and health, safety, and property safety as well, all the way through our career. But you're going to train harder than you've ever trained in your life. You're never going to get out of training manuals. And for your entire career at a fire department, you will be training and staying as comprehensive and up to date as you possibly can.
Well, Mr. Perkins, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you.
We have to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll take you to the newest pediatric ER in Memphis.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
I think one of the things that sets us apart from other schools or other productions that are doing this is that our kids are 100% in charge of what they're doing.
We sell the ads, we build the stage, we make the costumes.
Working in this environment, I've learned to appreciate everything that's given to me, because not many high schools have programs like this.
When I first started in this program, my first musical was Hairspray. And now, 4 years later, I'm in my last musical, The Mystery of Edwin Drood. And looking back, I think I've progressed a lot.
To see them now as seniors and to see the people that they have become, it's changed me more than I think it's changed them.
For more information about the CAPA program, visit GHSCAPA.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Scarlett Simpson. Children amount for nearly 20% of all U.S. ER visits. Yet recent surveys say that many ERs are not equipped for suitable pediatric care. Being one of the few in the Memphis area, this new pediatric hospital has been receiving a lot of attention. I had the chance to sit down with Dr. Miguel Rodriguez from the Spence and Becky Wilson Baptist Children's Hospital. Dr. Rodriguez, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Well, the hospital is getting ready to celebrate its 3rd birthday, but there have been a lot of changes in the past 3 years. Can you take me through those changes?
Well, there's been several changes. We've grown quite a bit in the last 3 years. We've expanded a lot of services at our pediatric hospital. We now even have a pediatric intensive care unit. We have several subspecialists, including pediatric surgeons, plastic surgeons, ENT, ophthalmology, gastroenterology, cardiology, several pediatric services. So it's quite numerous to list, but we can certainly make that available. And we're very excited about the progress we've made. Our ER has been very successful, and we provided additional services, brought in new practitioners, have hired some new physicians, so we're very excited about that.
Well, let's talk about the children. What type of emergencies do come through your doors on a day-to-day basis?
Well, as you know, in an emergency room, anything can come through your front door. We are not a level 1 trauma center, so we certainly suggest that they go to a level 1 trauma center if there's that type of trauma. But we see a fair amount here. But we see the routine upper respiratory infections. As you know, the flu season has been quite severe this year, so we're seeing quite a few upper respiratory infections, pneumonias, influenza. So we see quite a bit of that. But we do see our fair cases of abdominal pain, nausea and vomiting, gastroenteritis, and if they need a surgeon, we have pediatric surgeons. As I said, we have several subspecialists, and if they have problems with swallowing, we have speech pathologists as well.
Well, Dr. Rodriguez, take us through the triage process from when a child comes in to when they are discharged.
Well, when they come through the triage, we try to see them as quickly as possible. If we can, if there's a room available, we try to bring them to the back through the ER and put them in a room so we can complete the triage process there, so we can get them seen quickly by a physician or a practitioner. If they are in the triage area and the back of the ER is full, then we have a triage nurse that goes to the typical questioning as to why they're there and how we can help them. And we try to find out who their pediatrician is, if they have a pediatrician, if they're going through a clinic, etc. We also ask the pertinent questions if they have any past medical histories, if they are on any medications, and we try to ascertain that so that we can better expedite their care and do a complete care package for them.
Well, what is the flow of the ER on a regular day?
Well, it depends. I mean, as I said, in an emergency department, there is no hard and fast rule. At any given time, you have to be prepared to whatever comes through the front door. And as I said, this is the cold and flu season, so it's not uncommon that not just a family of 1, but a family of 10 can show up. An aunt, a mother, an uncle with 3 other siblings, and before you know it, it went from 2 patients to 10 patients in a 5-minute period. So you have to be prepared for whatever walks in the front door. But on any given day, you know, we have access to surgeons, anesthesiologists. If we have to take them to the OR, we can do that on a 24-hour basis. We have excellent board-certified pediatric radiologists. So we're prepared for anything that walks in the front door. But typically, most ERs, especially children's ERs, it kind of mirrors what you would expect. If they're in school, you're not going to see a heavy population during the school hours. But if they're out of school, in particular if there's a flu epidemic or ice storm, you'd be surprised even that won't prevent them from coming through the ER, because we may be the only place open, so we're available 24/7.
Well, what made you want to become a pediatric doctor?
Well, I enjoy working with children. I've always enjoyed working with children and families, and they just not only keep me young, but they're very exciting to deal with. Of course, it's always tragic if a child's very sick, but it is an honor to take care of a child and make them feel better. Generally, children do pretty well, which is the nice thing about pediatrics. But as I said, we prepare for the worst case scenarios, and we're prepared to take care of them if need be.
Well, Dr. Rodriguez, you have a PICU, the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, which opened in 2016.
Well, whenever you're dealing with surgical cases or respiratory cases, of course you have to be prepared in case a child becomes very sick. And of course it was ideal if you're admitting patients to a hospital that you have a higher level of care within your hospital to take care of those patients. When you can do the same level of care, that's great, but if you have to do a higher level of care, you have to be prepared for those cases. And it's much safer to take care of patients that you know well, that you've taken care of, you're familiar with their pediatricians, you know the disease process, and if it intensifies, you want to have a place to put them. So the PICU is just a natural transition. And because we're bringing on subspecialists that require higher level of cares at times, we wanted to be prepared. So I think it was the ideal fit, and it's been very successful at this hospital.
Well, why is it so important to have an ER designated for children?
Well, I used to work next door at our larger hospital, and we were a small subset through the major ER. But when you're putting a large volume of patients with a smaller volume of patients, it just kind of crowds out children. So it's much more ideal to have their own ER. And in addition, it allowed us to recruit the best level subspecialists dedicated to pediatrics and their care. And that's allowed us to build this hospital and improve the services. And we feel very confident that they're getting excellent care as a result.
Well, it seems like every year there's a new addition to the pediatric hospital. Is there something that we can expect for this new year?
Well, we're very excited. Baptist is partnered with Vanderbilt's Children's Hospital, and we have several subspecialists that are in the woodworks coming to our facility. We've just recently brought on pediatric urology, but we're having several others that we're negotiating and working with, so that we expect to see more subspecialists in that partnership coming our way.
Are there any quick tips that you would offer to parents to avoid the flu?
Yes, wash your hands very carefully, and if you suspect your child may have the flu, it's probably best just to contact your pediatrician, because oftentimes if it's just a cold and you bring them to an emergency department where we do have an abundance of flu cases, your child may have not had the flu when they got here, but they may have had it when they left. So if you can avoid coming to an emergency room, it's in your best interest. But if you feel that you have to see a physician, we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we'll be happy to take care of you. But we work very well with the pediatricians in the community, and we want to make sure that we're giving them the same level of service that they feel confident with.
Well, Dr. Rodriguez, thank you so much for being on the show today and for everything that you do day to day. I would like to thank today's guest for taking the time to meet with me. Next time you or someone you know is in need of emergency assistance, remember all of the first responders who take their time to make our community healthy and safe. I'm Scarlett Simpson. From all of us here at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.